And the short answer of this entire thing is no, you don't need to become a real estate agent to invest in real estate.
I think it could still potentially hold you back and be a distraction.
The sexy reason that most people want to become an agent first is direct access to the MLS.
Confidence of understanding the business or a section of the business that you're about to go into would be, it's definitely a pro.
I personally feel so much better about getting my license now. It's because we've come to the point where we've taken so many deals down. You're bettering your life's resume. You're becoming another better version of yourself, becoming licensed.
You know, all these things that you don't actually need. You need the action, and then the direction, the fork in the road will take you to whatever split off you need to go.
Should I get my real estate license before I start investing? The answer is no. Money loves speed. Success also does. Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys, Ryan and Corey here with another episode. Today, it's just going to be us two. We've been getting the question a lot in the DMs on Instagram. For those of you who are following us, we are Wealth Juice Official on Instagram. But the question that we've been getting is, should I get my real estate license before I start investing? And we wanted to unpack this myth here, I guess, if you will, or this question on a quick episode for you. Because back in the day when we first started about 7 years ago, we had the same question too. We thought we needed to be licensed in order to take the leap and become investors. And the short answer of this entire thing is no, you don't need to become a real estate agent to invest in real estate. There are lots of pros in becoming so. And then there's also some cons too. So we want to chat through this, give you a quick episode to let you kind of really see how we thought about it as we've navigated our journey and make a decision for yourself. So I think we'll start at the top here, but right now, just to give you a lay of the land, Corey and I are currently studying to become real estate agents. And I want to start there because we have gone through this journey over the last couple of years and we didn't need our license. And we decided to roughneck it all the way to 80 units. And we've had a bunch of different styles of deals, strategies we've undertaken, and we didn't have our licenses. But now I think we've come to the point where we feel like it would be a big benefit for us, and we'll talk through that. But Cora, if you want to give some perspective, maybe some pros on becoming a real estate agent before becoming an investor, and then let us know where your thoughts are. I know you're taking the exam in the next day or so, so this is really helpful.
By the time this episode comes out, I'll probably have it, hopefully, if I pass on the first time. But here's the thing. I think people take or use the getting your license as like, oh, I need business cards, or I need an LLC, or I need it's all of the ancillary things in the beginning that people think that they need before starting. And that's why I would say, if you're listening to this podcast episode, you 100% do not need your real estate license to buy real estate. Okay. The reason that Ryan and I are getting it now is because there has been opportunities that have presented ourselves to us because of the community to refer out a lot of business. And in order to get paid as a referral partner, you need to have your license. That's one thing. The other thing is we want direct access to the MLS to help our clients and to help people that we know find great deals. And then whether or not Ryan and I use them or help family members close on properties, that might be an option too. But I think you absolutely do not need it in the beginning. We're getting it now as because our network is expanding so vast and we know agents in several markets, it's going to help us better connect our team and our clients with the right people who can know, like, and trust us. And then whether or not we start to sell, that's kind of maybe a different ball game there, but do not think that you need this to start. But what we'll do here is we'll go through the pros and cons, because some people, it might be beneficial for them to have it at the beginning. And that, I think that's, we'll go through the good, the bad, and the ugly with that.
Yeah, let's do it. So really, there's going to be 7 pros that we found to becoming a real estate agent before becoming an investor. And the first one, very basic, but this is the sexy reason that most people want to become an agent first, is direct access to the MLS, which the MLS is the multiple listing service. And essentially, you no longer will have to rely on agents to send you deals. You will have consistent eyes on deals that come up on the market and properties that maybe that you wouldn't have eyes on if you're solely relying on your specific agent to reach out to you with these properties because they think they fit your buy box, right? This gives you a lay of the land, complete access. It allows you to search properties in real time, create alerts for yourself, and analyze comps like a professional, really, at the end of the day. So instead of having to go on Zillow and just kind of slowly pick through things, this gives you access before things drop. And then also one of the things here, which I think for people that are currently investors, why it is a benefit to you, is speed matters. And we know that, to get from A to Z and to close that first deal or close that next deal, you don't want to have to be relying on someone else. And that's what we found, is we're continually waiting on people to send us deals and analyze them. And it becomes this little gap, the stopgap. And we found that speed in execution and taking action is really what kind of drives the ball down the field versus overanalyzing. So I think just highlighting this, like the MLS Access earlier gives you a major edge when sourcing deals and looking at properties beforehand and before having to wait on someone else to send them to you on a silver platter.
The next one, that's a good point, right? I mean, the next one would be earning commission on your own deals, but I want people to think about this in a different way. Like, if I went back and thought about all the deals that we could have earned commission on, you're adding also more steps of work too. So I'm not trying to mix the pros and cons into one. I know we're talking about pros here, but like, for example, you can represent yourself, and maybe that's a 2.5% to 3% commission that you might be able to get back on a deal. So if you're buying a $300,000 rental property, that could be potentially $7,000 or so back in your pocket. And over time, this can dramatically reduce acquisition costs. But I also think that there are expectations when you have your license about parking it with the brokerage and how many deals you're going to sell. Are you going to be just a referral partner? Or are you going to start your own business? And people think that they're going to go get their license and then deals are just going to fall in their lap. And it's like any other business. It's just simply not true. And there are really like a top 5% of agents out there that are doing deals. I think a lot of people fall back on their agent's licenses like, oh, anyone can do this. Like, I'll jump in. But it's, in my opinion, it's actually one of the hardest businesses to grow. So you can earn commission on your own deals. That is definitely a pro of having this. And Ryan, I mean, we probably could have saved definitely tens of thousands of dollars if we would have had our license at the beginning, but I think it would have held us up more and stopped us from taking more action. Yes. So that would be the second pro.
Love it. And the next one, this one I really like. Number 3 is you're able to list properties yourself, but also represent yourself. So not only will you be able to save 2.5% to 3% when you sell without a listing agent required, you can control the process, presentation, and the negotiation. This is helpful, specifically with rentals, but also flipping, BRRRRs, and a bunch of different strategies. However, I want to highlight this. One of the biggest issues I had, Corey and I both started in sales on our W-2s, by the way. So we know how to negotiate. We know how to kind of steer a conversation to make it beneficial and a win-win for both parties. One of the most frustrating parts going through this journey was having to wait for the feedback from the agent to say, hey, is the seller going to accept this deal? Can you send them a 3 offer sheet so that way they can pick one of our offers versus going with one? Can we send them a heartfelt letter to let them know about our specific experiences and why we want to buy this property and why it means something to us? And you're at bay of how good your agent is. And we have kind of realize that we are, maybe it's the control freaks in us, but we are definitely type A and we want control of this situation. And I know 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be better on the phones than the current agent that I have to go negotiate and represent myself. So not only do you get to list the properties yourself, that's a benefit, but being your own advocate and being able to represent yourself is one of the biggest benefits in my opinion.
Yeah, you're relying on somebody else's. Sometimes in most scenarios, if you get good agents, they're going to be better than somebody who's not an agent, right? Like that's for sure, because the ins and outs that they'll know that you won't. But if you're negotiating on your own behalf, because of the skill set that we've kind of developed over the past couple of years, we feel like, oh, okay, by having our license, that we would be able to potentially negotiate at a higher level, and we care maybe a little bit more, even though that agent is making money on this deal. So that's again why having all of these connections and these reciprocal relationships that you build with people, so that these agents that you find care as much as you do. So listing your properties yourself is 100% key. The next one here is honestly, it's confidence and understanding a pro. The other pro here, number 4, would be a confidence in understanding the actual transaction and how this works. Like the licensure course that I'm going through right now, a lot of it I knew, but there's a lot of nuance that I didn't know. And it gives you a solid foundation, contacts, negotiations, agency law, regulatory things that you wouldn't know if you were just going into it as, blind or just starting as an investor. I don't know if that gives you as much of a leg up as you think, but the knowledge can help you, mitigate rookie mistakes as an investor and make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. So that's confidence of understanding the business or a section of the business that you're about to go into would be, that's definitely a pro.
Yeah. And I want to reframe that a little bit. It's better education and confidence in yourself. And what I mean by this is like, as you're going through and you're studying all of these things for the exam, right? you not only have access to the contracts, but all the data and all the SOPs that you need and the behind the scenes that your agent currently has. So for me, once I know all this information and I have it in the back of my mind, I'm so much more confident taking down deals. And I know that if I need a contract for something, I can quickly pull it. Right now, I have to go once again to the agent to ask for a resource. I don't want to have to do that anymore. It's becoming more a pain in the butt. And when you invest in multiple markets, you have to get all this data from different markets. And so the national exam and like the national piece of this is great. So that way we can log into a database and have all the resources that we potentially need. And I will say, as you get deeper into the game, right? Like if you're an agent, you're going to go out and work with investors or just work with people wanting to buy a residential, like a primary home. You want to have the confidence in yourself to say, hey, I know the exact way you should walk this roadmap right now. And for us, we have a bunch of mentees or students, if you want to call them, in our program. And having our licenses now not only gives us the credibility to say, hey, we not only went through the process and we are now licensed officially. And so we're not just investors, we have your back, but also to have all these resources and data that are updated in real time, what's currently going on in the market versus having to go to a friend or another agent we know to get that information. That makes me so much more confident that I can dial in and keep up to date with everything and make sure that all of our crew and our community are in a great spot moving forward and they're up to date. So it just depends. I wanted to give you like a real life, hey, where we're currently at with this and why it makes sense for us now. And I think the biggest thing here is the confidence factor, right? We've talked to a lot of different investors out there when they're just getting started, and it's the lack of confidence because they're not around it enough. They could be in sales, they could be a doctor, they could be an accountant, right? A law enforcement officer, something like that. So their day to day is currently nothing to do with real estate, right? So when they get home, they have to shut that brain off, turn the real estate brain on. So if you can have synergy in everything that you do and you're always thinking about real estate, i.e. you put all the time, energy, and effort to get your license, you're going to be locked in and dialed on that. So for us, it's just this synergistic approach to say, hey, now we have everything on the back of our minds. It's not in the back. It's the front force of our mind. And having all of this information just gives us even more confidence that we're so dialed in and we're just crammed with all the information and education on this on a daily basis and around the right people and contacts within the industry that are doing deals in a bunch of different ways. It's just a no-brainer. So for those of you who might be at the next step and stage in this, I think it definitely makes sense for you. Now, if you have a ton of time on your hands and maybe the W-2 isn't as rigorous and you have some time to study up for this exam now and get it done with and be immersed in this, it could absolutely make sense. So this confidence piece is what holds people back from taking action. So this is what's going to give you that confidence and give you all the education you need to feel good about becoming an investor. Then I think you do it.
Yeah, I think that could still potentially, again, I'm not trying to be negative. I think it could still potentially hold you back and be a distraction, but we'll get that in the cons of it too, because this is a balance here. And it's like, it really depends on your personality. That's what I would say. It depends on your personality and like your overall goals with it. The next pro would be increased credibility. So sellers, investors, they're going to take you more seriously. You can build more rapport. I will say this as another pro. If you're noticing the trends about wholesaling across the United States, and I talk to my wholesaler friends, I have some friends who do wholesaling. We know some in Arizona. We know some in Florida. We know some even in our backyard here in Philadelphia, New Jersey. I think a lot of states are going to not outlaw wholesaling, but make you have to be a licensed realtor in order to wholesale. And I think that's coming in more states than not. So if you're looking to wholesale, which everyone says they are until they realize how hard it is, right? But we know some great wholesalers out there. We're not wholesalers ourselves, but if you're wholesaling or you're raising private capital, it can increase your credibility. And being licensed kind of adds a perceived legitimacy to what you do. And you can say it's a tool in my tool belt. It's like, hey, I'm an investor. I sell. I've developed, right? There's a number of ways, the silos, if you will, in the real estate game. So I think it does increase your credibility overall.
100%. I just want to touch on the credibility piece. This matters when you're getting into bigger rooms. And I think for people to take you seriously, that once again, this doesn't have to be for people that are just starting out in their journey. And if you don't even have your first rental, once again, I'm not shoving this down your throat, but the benefit walking into a room, think about someone that's going to manage your finances, just as an example. Would you give someone your portfolio to go manage if they're not a licensed certified financial planner? Probably not. Or you'd be like, hey, what is this person really doing? Like, how much experience do they have? You'd have more questions than not. But if someone is actually accredited, or if they have their licensure in what they're presenting to you. I just think it gives you that much more power to walk into a room in a backing to say, hey, I'm legit, and it checks the box. It's like the blue check on Instagram or Twitter kind of thing, one of those. So once again, just increases credibility. I do think that is really important as we get, as the world evolves a little bit more, because I think anyone can say they're doing something. And, overall, that is a reason why I personally feel so much better about getting my license now. It's because we've come to the point, we've taken so many deals down. It's like, how can I become the next best version of myself as an investor? And this will give me more access, more credibility, etc.
The next one is networking and deal flow. The best agents out there are doing other parts of the real estate business. In my opinion, the ones that I've met that are crushing it, that are at the top of their game, they own real estate, they're developing real estate, they're in other avenues of the game, and their agent business could be the biggest part of that business, but you find deals by doing that. So networking and being around the people that you want to be like, being in the game, if you will, it leads to pocket listings, off-market deals, and any types of joint ventures that you might be able to get into. They come from naturally being around the game. So a lot of times investors love working with investor-friendly agents. So I think the networking aspect of getting your license, finding the right brokerage for you. Like, for example, I've been interviewing with brokerages prior to me even getting my license. And I think I know, I'm not going to announce it yet, but I think I know who I want to go with, because there is a certain prototype of like, hey, do you need like the rah-rah of like the sales meetings and the team and like the in-office experience? There's certain brokerages that are better for that. There's other brokerages that are better for entrepreneurs. They have an entrepreneurial skeleton vibe where it's like, hey, you do your thing. Like you bring the business, we give you the support, but it's not like it's less corporate, if you will. So, and I think that is finding the right fit there. So, but also again, any of this comes down to committing yourself to doing what you actually say you're going to do. So if you're going to get your license and sit on the sidelines and not do deals or not build a business, none of this shit matters. So anyway, that's a pro. Networking, deal flow. I think that's another reason why it could be beneficial for sure.
Yeah, you nailed it. Actually, I forget the gentleman that was back on the podcast. This was probably 2 years ago, but he wanted to become an investor and decided to become an agent first. And I'll always remember this story where he just immersed himself in the office. He had more of the corporate feel, right? He went in and he became
Some people need that, by the way. Some people really want that. And that wouldn't be my vibe, but we're like entrepreneurs, right? So some people definitely need that.
100%. Yeah. And this is talking to a wider array of people here. But my point for bringing this up was his first deal that he ever did as an investor, it was a 20 unit. And you know why? Because he got the deal off market because he saw it first before it went out on the MLS. And then he asked questions to all the other agents in his office that worked with investors, and they knew other investors. And he almost had like a mini mastermind of people that he was surrounded with every day to get the deal done the right way. And now that deal's screaming. So I just think it's super important to realize there are getting this doesn't just check a box of credibility. It does give you access to more people that are doing this on a daily basis, and it can help answer your questions and then also give you more confidence in analyzing deals and take things down. And having that consistent deal flow for where it crosses your desk first, that's a huge leg up. So just again, reiterating the point, networking and deal flow, that's massive. We found a lot of times it's who, not how, and your network ends up being your net worth, right? And you become the average of the 5 people that you're around the most. If you're around people that are crushing sales, crushing deals, also investors, you're more than likely going to become that person. So I just wanted to bring that up. And then the next benefit here, number 7, the last pro here, is potential for extra income. And this one's an obvious one, but having this gives you the ability to help friends, family, and other investors buy or sell. They might come to you and see what you're doing. For example, for us on social media, people are always like, hey, can you guys help me, buy this property, or can you help me find my next deal? And right now, because we're not licensed, we can plug you with another person that can do it, and we can get you to the finish line fast. But to be able to do this ourselves, especially if it's in our backyard, it's just another leg up. You're helping out a one-to-one friend or family member, which is an awesome, nice little touch, but you're also making a little commission on that too. So just think of this. It could be a full-time hustle, it could be a side hustle, but it allows you to create a new income stream while you're building your portfolio. And portfolio. And it's a really cool benefit for us. I think of where we're at in our current journey. It's like we're always looking for another income stream. Just seems like a no-brainer. And I think some people at the next stage here are probably thinking the same thing. Like, how can I make some extra cash? I'm already in real estate. I'm already trying to become an investor. Maybe I have 2-3 properties. This is something you should definitely consider, especially if you can put the time in now to get it. I think it's a lot of people, they're like, I just don't have the time for this. If you can force it and just get it done, you're bettering your life's resume. You're becoming another better version of yourself, becoming licensed in this. And so this is just super helpful for offsetting some of your living expenses and then reinvesting this extra capital into deals should they come your way.
I'd caution people there too, but though I think it makes a ton of sense for potential income, but I don't think anyone, if you're not in real estate, it's not synergistic. Don't just think that you're going to like pop in and like sell 5 homes a year unless you have a really vast network. Because think about this, nobody wants to work with somebody who sells a couple homes a year unless you're already an experienced investor, experienced wholesaler, and this is another avenue for the real estate silo. If you're working in IT and you think you're going to get your real estate license and just sell a couple homes just because you have friends and family, if I were those friends and family, I would want to go to someone who sells 100 homes a year because they're going to get you through the process. Real estate is an emotional game. You try to take the emotion out of it, but when people are buying primary residence, it's where they're going to live their life. So there's a lot of interpersonal skill sets that need to happen in order to like really become good at this. So I don't want to sound like in this episode I'm being negative about getting your license. I just think that you have to think about it, about how what your actual goals are and if it's going to align with those, and then by all means.
Yeah, I don't think we're not swaying you either way. Actually, there's a lot of pros and then there's a lot of cons. It just depends on your specific situation. So you can make the decision after this. We'll go through the cons now. And I know Corey was kind of weaving those into some of the pros just because it actually made sense to talk about like the ping and pong and like why you would do something over the other given the scenario. But some of the cons and considerations to be careful of before getting licensed, right? Like he already mentioned this earlier in the episode, it can be a distraction. So getting licensed takes a lot of time, and a lot is general, but can potentially take between 60 and 120 hours of coursework and exams. And I know that's going to seem like a lot for some people. If you're great and you can hit the books, you did great in school, and you're like, hey, that doesn't bother me, that's amazing. If you have 2 kids, you have a W-2 job, and you're thinking about becoming an investor on the side, you're like, you don't need to do this. Like, that's one of the things. Like, you can take the leap and become an investor without having to do this. This is just once again, someone who's maybe 3-4 steps down the line where they have a little bit more freedom, and the benefits outweigh the cons, because this distraction, what I don't want it to do is to hold you back from becoming an investor and getting that first deal, because some people will say, well, I need to be licensed first. And then you wait 2, 3, 4 more years, never get licensed, then you don't get your first property. And that's the thing we do not want you to do.
By the way, I was reminded very humbly, it was a humbling experience of how shitty of a student I am as I'm taking these like practice tests and like going through the motions of the course and everything. I completed everything, and I'm actually, like I said, I'm going to take the test, but I was such a bad student. So it reminded me, I was like, put me back into school. I say such a bad, I got like mostly B's and some C's in school. So I wasn't a terrible student, but like I remembered how much I hated studying. Like, it was awful. So the distraction, we're talking to people that are just getting started. The distraction aspect is like, don't let this stop you from buying that house hack or buying that single family or buying that duplex or triplex, because we did it for 7 years and didn't need our license to start. So that is the next thing, one of the cons. The other con is ongoing costs. So if you're going to become an agent, you're going to expect to pay somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 a year to hold your license somewhere. Association dues, brokerage splits, sometimes paper filing, and there's just fees that are associated with it. It's not crazy expensive, but you'd have to do a property or so a year for it to make sense. And then honestly, when you park yourself with a brokerage, you're going to have some sort of expectation. Like, hey, you are a part of the organization. They're bringing you on. You're parking your license with them. It's not just a free for all. It's like, how many homes are you going to sell? And some brokerages more than others will push you in that direction of like, what are you doing? Like what? So that's why I'm saying dipping your toes into this game is a little bit hard, because you do have some hard costs that you have to pay for upfront and then ongoing as well.
100%. So good to touch on that. The next would be increased legal and ethical responsibilities, right? So as an agent, you're held to a higher standard of conduct. It's not like, once again, kind of just what Corey mentioned, there's some expectations there. You kind of have to disclose your license in all transactions, and this can kind of create legal exposure if you're not careful, right? If you're going to go do this thing and put the time, energy, and effort, you got to be good at it. And because if you're putting someone in a home and something goes wrong, you're the first person they're going to go to and say, well, you told me this was going to be fine, right? So it's just one of those things where it's like, with great power becomes great responsibility, right? You're not just going to sell someone a property and then they're gone forever. They become a client of yours. And then there's some customer service involved. So, but there's a bunch of which ways to do this, right? Like for us, I think the majority of it will be a referral partner. Like for us we are sending deals out to a bunch of different people. It's to bridge the gap and say, hey, we'd like to be compensated for giving you someone that's going to buy a deal on a silver platter, right? For us to be in the weeds every single day, given I'm still managing the W-2 and Corey's full time running our business, it doesn't make sense. We're not going to be flipping houses and selling them over and over and over throughout the year. I think it could evolve to that. And that's why we want to get it done at this stage in our journey. But just something to put out there, right? Like you're not just going to have this and have no responsibility on top. And it's one thing, you want to uphold your standards, and you're only as good as your reputation, right? So you don't want to put someone in a bad situation. If you're going to do this, you got to do it.
Yeah, that's the ethical and like fiduciary responsibility thing. Like I met with an owner of a brokerage today, and he was just talking about how like a lot of people think they're going to sell homes for friends and family. And when in reality, like it can actually hinder, if you're not good at it yet, it can hinder your relationship with them. Like this is a big deal, and you have to represent them, in an honorary way, and you have to uphold a lot of standards. So there's ethical aspects to this. And I think sometimes when you mix like friends and family and money, it can kind of get a little muddy. I come from a family business, so I know, believe me, all about that. So you have a legal and ethical responsibility, and that is another con there. The fourth one is that I don't know how much of a con this really is. I mean, you have to hang your license with somebody. So sometimes this could be looked at as a pro, because you can build a network based on that brokerage too. And then, you don't just collect all of the commission. Like you have a split, not just you're getting 2.5%, 3% as the salesperson, like you 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, whatever the split is, percentage of your commission is going to the broker too. So I think that people think that you just can sell a couple houses and make a bunch of money. And when in reality, it's like there are, you have to be affiliated, and you have to be affiliated with the right brokerage. Some of them will give you leads. Some of them will act as, will help represent you. Some of them you'll be on a team with someone. But some brokerages might not be a good fit. So you have to find, it's not as simple as getting your license and going selling houses, right? You have to find the right fit on a brokerage. And so that's a con. It can be also looked at as a pro as well.
Yep, couldn't agree more. So the last one I want to touch on is number 5, and this is the last con for us, is it doesn't teach you how to become an investor, right? Real estate school and going through all these exams, it teaches you how to represent buyers and sellers, not how to find cash flowing deals or build wealth, right? That is your primary goal, to buy income producing assets. Becoming licensed may not be worth it for the direct path there, right? So I'm going to kind of break through a couple scenarios, and I'll give you our recommendation here on if it makes sense for you, if it doesn't. So for example, if you want to buy your first rental property as soon as possible, skip the license for now and focus on buying. You should become focused on running the numbers and becoming the best investor you possibly can. If you plan to flip, BRRRR, or buy multiple properties annually, I would strongly consider getting licensed. If you want access to the MLS and earn commission, right, and you're at the next stage of the game, it's worth it. I'd probably get your license. If you want to house hack or buy one deal per year, probably not worth getting licensed at this time. If you want to be seen as a serious player and network better, and you're really concerned about having the confidence and the education piece and the network around you that are always looking at deals and doing deals and selling properties, then getting licensed could open a few doors for you. So I'd probably recommend it. So overall, my final takeaway, and I'll let Corey chime in on this, but becoming an agent is a tool, not a requirement. So if it's used well, it can obviously do the following: help you find more deals, save or earn thousands per transaction, side hustle, love it, build stronger relationships and gain access early, and then grow a side business within the industry that you are pursuing as an investor, right? All those things. If you ask me point blank today, should I get my real estate license before I start investing? The answer is no. If you are on the next stage of your journey and you listen to all the things that we already talked about in this episode, this could be a serious benefit to you. We know that money loves speed. Success also does. And if you want to synergize your world and you are potentially going to become a real estate professional and have a well-rounded business around this, this is a great extension. You can better yourself, get yourself to the next level. And I do think it's worth putting in the time, energy, and effort to get this.
One of the things that we teach people is how to build a roadmap so that they can start buying properties and scale their portfolio. Like, we'll give you the mentality, the team, the analysis, all of these things. So first, the reason why I bring that up is because everyone needs to understand the goals, where you're going. It really depends on that. If you want to buy one property a year for 10 years, which is what we wanted to do in the beginning, and maintain our W-2 jobs, then you do not need a license, and don't waste your time going through the process and thinking that that's going to help better your situation. However, when you get to that sixth or seventh property and you're starting to be in more real estate circles and you're understanding the game and you want to supplement your income or start a business that's all in the same lane with real estate, to me, that is, it's kind of like what we did. We have more than 7 or 8 units, but like, I think I'm glad we did it the way we did it. I would have probably got my license maybe 2 years ago, I think, if I could go back and do it, but we're doing it now. So do not let this do not let this hold you back in the beginning from getting started, because it's like the same thing as like, I need a business card, and I need like all these things that you don't actually need. You need the action, and then the direction, the fork in the road will take you to whatever split off you need to go. But 100%, it can be beneficial. You just need to know where you're going. So that would be our takeaway on whether or not you need to get your license. And do you think we wrapped everything up there pretty good?
I do. Yep. I think that was great. One thing I wanted to mention here is we take feedback very seriously. So Corey and I are going to start doing more tactful, shorter episodes like this, so you can get a quick hit answer on the drive to work or whenever you're listening to podcasts. So drop us a DM on Instagram. Once again, we're at Wealth Juice Official on Instagram. And if you want to hear more of these episodes that are tactful and you want to break down on certain things and our thoughts, let us know, because these are what I find, as I've listened to some of the bigger podcasts out there, these are what really help me move the needle. I can take quick, bite-sized information, write down a plan, make a decision, and move forward with my life. So sometimes we like to talk about stories, share other people's journeys, and then showcase how, your dream can become a reality. But also, I think the tact is super helpful. That's why we moved to 2 episodes a week, right? To weave some of these in. So if you enjoy these, let us know. Also, we would appreciate it. We're still growing the show. You've seen this thing. The downloads are going crazy right now. We're getting a lot of really great reviews. If you wouldn't mind, and if you have not left us a review, please tap into Spotify or Apple Podcasts and just leave us a 5-star review. Let us know what you like about the show. If we can see feedback there too, it also allows other people to see, hey, this is a reason for me to listen to the show. And then also it allows us to see what you like. So that way we can go ahead and pivot and continue episodes that you do like versus the ones that don't make sense. So we appreciate you joining us. Thanks for another week. And we will see you next week. Cheers.